Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going deep, really deep into the world of storytelling.
Ooh, I love a good story.
Don't we all? But this time, we're not just enjoying them.
Right.
We are going to take apart how they work, what makes them tick.
I like it.
Yeah, and to help us do that,
Right.
we've got Lisa Cron's book, Story Genius, as our guide.
Story genius. Oh, yeah. I've heard good things.
It's fantastic, really digs into the brain science.
Brain science. So, like, why we can't put a good book down.
Exactly, why certain stories just grab us and won't let go.
I'm in. Let's unlock those secrets.
Let's do it. So first things first, Cron says, we got to understand this. Stories aren't just entertainment.
Wait, really?
Seriously. They're like how our brains make sense of the world.
Okay. I can kind of see that.
Think about it. Like, ever read a story or watched a movie that just stayed with you?
Oh, tons.
And you think about it long after it's over.
Yep, definitely.
That's your brain working, processing stuff through story. And get this. Research shows that when we're engrossed in a story, our brains release dopamine.
Dopamine. Isn't that the, like, pleasure chemical?
The very same. The one we get from rewards, good food, all that.
So basically, good stories are like brain candy.
In a way, yeah. Our brains don't totally differentiate between real and imagined experiences.
No way.
So a powerful story can feel as real as something that actually happened to us.
That explains why I get so invested in practically living those stories.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got our brains hooked on stories.
Hooked is right.
But where do we even start when we want to tell one ourselves?
Well, I've always heard you just got to get that first draft out, messy as it is.
Right, shitty first draft and all that.
Yeah, embrace the mess.
Cron actually pushes back on that a bit. She says the problem's often deeper than just messy writing.
Deeper how?
It's about the premise, the what-if question that kicks off the whole story.
Makes sense. If that's weak, the whole thing might crumble.
Exactly. Cron says too many what-ifs are about external events.
Like, what if a volcano erupts? Kind of thing.
Yeah. It's all spectacle, not enough substance.
Okay, so what's a good what if then?
It's got to dig into a specific character's internal struggle.
So, like, less about the volcano, more about how someone reacts to it.
Exactly. And it should hint at the point the writer wants to make.
So the story has a deeper meaning, not just action.
Right. It's like Cron uses this funny example about kindergarten writing prompts.
Oh, yeah, I remember those.
Like, what did you do on your summer vacation?
It was always about the doing, never the feeling.
Right. We were trained to tell what happened, not how it affected us.
I never thought about it that way.
Cron says it's a subtle but big difference.
It's starting to see that, yeah.
So we ditched the shitty first draft idea.
Okay, ditch it.
And we start with a strong what if focused on internal stuff.
Internal struggles, got it.
And this leads us to another big idea. The protagonist as the portal.
Protagonist as the portal. Sounds fancy.
See, it means we connect to stories through the main character's experience.
Oh, like their eyes become our eyes in the story.
Precisely. We see the world through them.
So even with a killer, what if? If the protagonist is boring.
The story falls flat. We need to care about who's going through it all.
Right, they got to be someone we want to root for, or at least understand.
Absolutely. And to make that happen, Cron says we have to go deep.
Deep, like spelunking into their soul deep.
Exactly. We need to know their motivations, fears, flaws, all that good stuff.
Lay it all bare, huh?
And most important, their misbelief.
Misbelief, so like, they're wrong about something.
It's more than just being wrong.
Yeah.
It's a belief they hold that's actually holding them back.
Ooh, I see, like a self-sabotaging belief.
Exactly. It affects their choices, their relationships, everything.
Like a bad operating system running in their brain.
Perfect analogy. Imagine someone who believes they're unlovable.
Oof, that's rough.
Right. Maybe due to, I don't know, childhood abandonment or something.
Heartbreaking.
And even if they want love, that misbelief might make them push it away.
Oh, so their actions don't match their desires.
Exactly. Because that misbelief is calling the shots.
Wow, that internal struggle adds a whole other layer.
It's what makes characters feel real, you know?
Totally. We all have our own little misbeliefs.
Absolutely. But how do we uncover them, both in our characters and ourselves?
Therapy. Just kidding. Although...
Cron has a simpler answer. Why?
Why?
Yeah. Just like kids constantly asking why to figure things out.
Kids are relentless with the whys.
Exactly. We got to tap into that childlike curiosity.
So we become like detectives of the soul.
Exactly. We ask why about our characters' choices, their reactions.
Why do they hate dogs? That kind of thing.
Exactly. It helps us dig beneath the surface, find the root cause.
Even if it's something as simple as hating dogs.
Right. Maybe it's not about the dogs at all, but a deeper fear.
Fear of what? Slobber?
Maybe, or fear of loss, betrayal, who knows?
Okay, now I'm getting really
This
curious.
why thing is powerful. It applies to real life too.
You think so?
Totally. Like, have you ever done something and later wondered, why the heck did I do that?
Oh, all the time.
We often act without fully understanding our own whys.
Makes you think.
Cron uses a funny story about Louis C.K. and his daughter.
Oh, I love his stand-up.
She's always asking why,
Yeah.
and it drives him crazy.
I can imagine.
But it forces him to examine his own actions.
So those whys can lead to some serious self-reflection.
Totally. Both for ourselves and our characters.
So if we've got our what if, and
Mhm.
we're digging into the why.
Right. We're building a strong foundation for our story.
Okay, what's next? Do we start writing like crazy now?
Hold your horses. There's more to it than just the protagonist's journey.
More.
A captivating story needs a world that feels real, engaging.
So like setting, other characters, all that jazz.
Exactly. And that's where the magic of layering comes in.
Layering, yes. That's where we add all the good stuff, all the extra dimensions that make a story feel like, well, real life.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So we're not just talking about throwing in random details, right? It's got to be purposeful.
Absolutely. Think of it like building a house. You start with the foundation, then come the walls, the windows, the rooms.
Oh, I like that. Each layer adds complexity, makes it a real home.
Exactly. And one of the key tools we use for this layering is subplots.
Subplots. Okay, so those separate storylines that weave through the main one.
You got it. And they can add intrigue, raise the stakes, all that good stuff.
Makes sense. But how do we make sure those subplots actually serve the main story, not just distract from it?
That's the key. Each subplot should illuminate some aspect of the protagonist's internal struggle, their misbelief.
So it's not just about adding excitement or side adventures, it's about using those subplots to deepen our understanding of the protagonist's inner world.
You nailed it. Let's go back to that example from Jenny Nash's novel, The Woman Who Doesn't Like Dogs.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Her fear of dogs stemmed from a deeper fear of loss, right?
Right. And Nash brilliantly wove in a subplot about the protagonist's sister, a veterinarian who is, totally comfortable with the cycle of life and death.
Ooh, I see where you're going with this.
It's a beautiful contrast, Highlights the protagonist's own struggle to embrace vulnerability, except that loss is inevitable.
So the subplot isn't just a random story happening alongside the main one. It's directly reflecting and deepening the protagonist's core conflict.
It's like holding up a mirror to their internal struggle, forcing them to confront it.
Love it. And subplots can do even more than that, right?
Oh, absolutely. They can introduce new obstacles, new challenges that push the character further.
Like, what if our dog-averse protagonist suddenly has to care for her sister's dog?
Exactly. That throws her fear right in her face, creates all sorts of tension and conflict.
It's like each subplot is a pressure cooker for character development.
You could say that. And let's not forget about secondary characters. They're crucial for creating that believable world we talked about.
Right. We don't want them to feel like puppets, just there to move the plot along.
Nope. We want them to have their own agendas, their own desires, even if they're ultimately there to serve the protagonist's story.
Finding that balance can be tricky, though, right? Making them feel real while still keeping the focus on the main character.
True. Cron's advice is to create those secondary characters with the intention of facilitating the protagonist's story, but also make sure they have their own unique wants and needs.
So it's like a delicate dance.
Yeah, their journeys intersect with the protagonists, creating those moments of conflict, connection, all the things that make a story feel alive.
It's like we're weaving a tapestry, each thread adding to the overall picture.
Exactly. And here's something interesting. Even if a secondary character never actually appears in the story, just knowing their backstory, their relationship to the protagonist, can add a surprising amount of depth.
So like a past love who broke the protagonist's heart, even though we never actually meet them.
Exactly. The impact of that relationship is still there, shaping the protagonist's choices, reactions, all that.
It's like those unseen characters become part of the protagonist's emotional landscape.
Haunting them from the shadows.
Love that image. Okay, so we've got subplots, secondary characters, all these layers working together. But how do we actually bring it all to life on the page?
That's where the golden rule comes in. Show, don't tell.
Ah, yes, classic writing advice.
But it's one of those things that's easier said than done.
Hey, totally. How do we actually show emotions effectively?
Well, we have to understand that emotions are more than just labels, right? They're complex, nuanced, hard to put into words.
Okay, so instead of saying she was angry, We show her slamming doors, snapping at people, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's about painting a picture, creating an experience for the reader that allows them to feel those emotions along with the character.
It's like we're tapping into something more primal, something beyond language, when we show those emotions effectively.
Exactly. And to do that, we need to step inside the protagonist's shoes, see the world through their lens, you know?
Their lens, meaning their past experiences, their misbelief, all of that shaping how they interpret things.
Precisely. It's like each character has their own unique pair of glasses that colors how they see everything.
So if someone's misbelief is that they're unworthy of love, they might interpret a friendly gesture as pity, a compliment as fake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what makes characters feel real, relatable. They don't have to be perfect, but their actions need to make sense within their own internal logic, even if that logic is a little messed up.
This is making me realize how much depth there is in even the simplest interactions.
Absolutely. It's about those tiny details, those reactions and choices that reveal what's going on in the character's head.
And through those details, we create those aha moments for the reader where they suddenly connect the dots.
Yes. Like, oh, that's why they're acting that way.
It's like giving them a glimpse behind the curtain, showing them the gears turning.
Exactly. And speaking of keeping readers hooked, another crucial element of layering is deadlines.
Deadlines. Okay, I get how those work in real life, but in fiction.
Oh, they're even more powerful in fiction.
Yeah.
We need to create that sense of urgency, a ticking clock that keeps the story moving.
Yeah, deadlines, they definitely keep things interesting.
In stories, they're not just about getting things done on time.
Right? There's got to be more to it.
It's about forcing the protagonist to face that misbelief, make choices with real weight.
So those choices have consequences. They can't just wiggle out.
Exactly. We want the protagonist's transformation to feel earned, not like a cheat code.
Okay, I'm with you. So how do we use deadlines the right way?
Cron talks about the third rail of the story.
The third rail, like the one you're not supposed to touch.
Exactly. It's that core fear or misbelief that's been driving the protagonist.
Oh, I see. So the deadlines, they got to hit that third rail somehow.
They should push the character out of their comfort zone, make them squirm.
So like if our protagonist is terrified of commitment, maybe because they saw their parents divorce.
Right, classic fear of ending up like the folks.
An external deadline could be a wedding date looming, all that pressure.
Oh yeah, got to get that RSVP and make a decision.
And an internal deadline could be like realizing that fear is pushing away the person they love.
Oh, that stinks.
Right, so both deadlines work together, create this sense of urgency.
Like a ticking time bomb, except it's the character's own life on the line.
And it forces a choice. Cling to the misbelief or confront it.
And either way, there are going to be consequences. Things will change.
I'm seeing how this all ties back to that aha moment.
Yes. Deadlines can be the catalyst for that big realization.
Like the pressure cooker finally blows and the protagonist sees things differently.
Well, we can't just tell the reader that, right?
Right back to show, don't tell. Got to keep that in mind.
We have to craft a scene where the reader experiences that shift with the character.
So we see the struggle, the doubts, that flicker of recognition.
And then finally, that decision to change, to embrace a new way of seeing things.
Powerful stuff. But it can't just be some random epiphany, right?
Nope, it's got to be tied to what's happening in the plot.
Okay, so the external events have to trigger the internal change.
Exactly. Cron suggests asking two key questions. Will the protagonist achieve their goal? And regardless of the outcome, how will they change internally?
I like that. So it's not just about winning or losing, it's about the journey itself.
Let's go back to Jenny Nash's book. The protagonist wants to rewrite that TV show ending.
Right, she's got that deadline to meet, that script to deliver.
So, will she succeed? Will her ending work?
That's the question that keeps us turning the pages.
And the answer affects her internal journey. Success could mean she realizes she is capable.
Like, I did it. I'm not a failure after all.
But failure could force her to confront that fear head on, accept that it's okay to mess up sometimes.
So either way, there's potential for growth, just different paths.
It's about finding what feels truest to the character and their arc.
Makes sense. And the ending, it's not just about tying everything up in a neat bow, is it?
Cron talks about the final provocative thought, something to leave the reader pondering.
So we spark their curiosity, make them think even after they close the book.
We want them to walk away changed, even if they can't quite put it into words.
Wow, this deep dive has been mind-blowing. I feel like I've got a whole new toolbox for storytelling.
Me too.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, these principles apply beyond writing, you know?
Really?
Totally. It's about understanding our own motivations, facing our fears, embracing change.
Those are life lessons right there.
So go out there and tell your stories, everyone. On the page, on screen, heck, even just sharing them with a friend.
Let those stories captivate, inspire, make the world a little brighter.
And if you want to dive even deeper, Lisa Cron's Story Genius is waiting for you.
It's a treasure trove of insights. Seriously. All right, that's a wrap on this deep dive.
Until next time, folks.
Keep those stories coming.